Dragon Masters, number 1, we are on chapter 9, Whispers. Remember, we ended the last chapter with them doing flying practice outside, but Worm was not flying. So here's Whispers. And that is how to shine a dragon's scales, Griffith was saying later that week. Remember to brush one scale at a time, no shortcuts. Rory sighed. When can we go out again? Drake was glad Rory had asked. They had been stuck in the training room for 3 days. Drake liked learning about dragons, but he was used to being outside all day, every day on his farm back home. He was starting to forget what the sun looked like. The wizard patted a tall pile of books on his desk. There is much for you to learn first. We will go out again soon, Rory. Then a soldier came in. He handed something to Griffith. The wizard smiled. Drake, it's a letter for you. Read it aloud, Anna said. Drake quickly nodded to Griffith. Dear Drake, we are glad you are safe. We still don't know why the king brought you there. Can you tell us? Please keep writing so we won't worry. And thank you to your friend Bo for helping you to write to us. Love, your mother. Introduction, comma, indented the first paragraph, then indented the second paragraph. At the very end, wrote the ending, the farewell, love, comma, and then the name, your mother. Your mother sounds nice, Bo said. Drake's eyes started to burn. He held back his tears. His eyes were burning and he's holding back tears. Was he feeling sad? Why do you think he was feeling sad? Thanks, he said. May I send another letter to tell her about the dragons? You must not say anything about the dragons, Griffith said. The king's secret must be kept. The wizard stood up. Now it's time to shine your dragons. Let us go. As they were leaving the training room, Rory ran over to Anna. She started whispering to her. Wonder what she's telling her. Drake kept an eye on Rory as they walked toward the dragon caves. She has a sneaky look on her face, he thought. What are she and Anna up to? Chapter 10. Worm's Story. Drake stepped inside Worm's dark cave. Worm opened one eye. I need to shine your scales, Drake said. He was carrying a brush, a basket, and towels. Drake looked at Worm's brown scales. They're not shiny, he said, but I'll clean them anyway. Drake was still getting used to being around Worm. The dragon's head was as big as Drake. Worm could swallow Drake in one gulp if he wanted to, but something about Worm made Drake feel peaceful. Drake gently brushed one of Worm's scales. The big dragon made a sound low in his throat. Worm smiled and closed his eyes. Aw, you must like it. A sound deep in his or low in his throat reminds me of purring. So here's Drake with all his supplies to clean his scales, and then here's Worm, all wrapped up. You like that? Drake asked. Worm made another purring sound. Good. He cleaned Worm's scales one at a time. I kind of miss the onion field back home, Drake said to his dragon. It was hard work, but I loved being outside. Drake started to clean Worm's head. And I really miss my family, Drake said. Here's him cleaning his scales. He scratched behind Worm's ears like he did with his cat back home. Then he felt his hands start tingling. He tried to take his hand off of Worm, but he couldn't. It was stuck. Drake's eyes widened. He looked at Worm. The dragon was staring hard at him. If you can't take your hand off of him and it feels like it's tingling, what might be going on? What kind of dragon might he be? Pictures popped into Drake's head. He saw the cave from his nightmare. He saw the explosion again before Drake had woken up. This time the pictures kept coming. So he can't take his hand off of his dragon. And he has all these pictures in his head of the same thing as what was in his dream. I wonder how that's happening. Worm was trying to get out of the cave, but the other dragons were in the way. And then the soldiers rushed into the cave. Each soldier's shirt had a gold dragon sewn on it. The king's soldiers? Drake asked. The soldiers wrapped Worm in chains. They dragged him out of the cave. Owie! Drake could hear Worm's cry. Then his hand stopped tingling and the pictures left his head. Oh my goodness, it almost seems as if Worm is sharing memories with Drake, doesn't it? That's crazy. And if that really happened, where he was in his home and the king's soldiers came and took him away in chains, yikes. Drake looked at Worm. Did that really happen? Did the king's men take you away from your family? Just like they took me away from mine? Worm nodded. I'm so sorry, Drake said. He threw his arms around Worm's neck. Worm closed his eyes. Seems like they have things in common. He's showing empathy by caring for him and listening to that problem and understanding and feeling what he's feeling. All his life, Drake had looked up to King Roland. But why would the king's men treat Worm like a prisoner, wondered Drake. Maybe he isn't such a good king after all. That's where we're going to stop. What do you think? Do you think if that really happened, do you think that King Roland is really good? Or do you think there might be something else going on? We're going to stop today.